Hi, everyone. This is Michele Graglia.
This is Marianne Hogan.
Hi, I'm Adrian McDonald.
I'm Katie Asmith.
Hi, this is Anthony Gasals.
Hi, my name is Meg Morgan.
Hey, it's Jordan Trofe.
This is John Ray.
This is Ryan Van Duzer, and you are listening to the Gotta Run Racing Podcast.
Hello.
Hey, everybody, we're back with another Gotta Run Podcast.
I'm Jodi.
And I'm Norm, your host for this ultra running
Odyssey.
Wow, good word.
First one that came to mind.
What's been happening lately?
Well, I did just attempt a 24-hour race this past weekend with Dirty Souls Trail Running, Sugarbush Shenanigans at the Sugarbush Winery in Prince Edward County. And I say attempt because it was a failed one.
Oh, don't say fail. What did you learn?
I learned that switchbacks and sharp turns do not agree with my glute min. That's what I learned. Yeah, no, in all seriousness, I knew going in that I was severely undertrained, but I was willing to give it a go. We had lots of friends there. We had some friends from Rainbow Trail Run. We had a former podcast guest, Brad Kernahan, who we met at Sulphur. And we were going to have a fun time. We had the best setup, I must say. Our crew station rocked. Definitely. And it was funny watching you trying to set that up before I got back to base every loop.
Yeah, you kept coming back in 20, 25 minutes. I'm going, I'm not ready for you. Get back out there. Give me at least an hour.
It was a 3.3 kilometer loop. But what we didn't know until about, last week before the race is that 2 kilometers were switchbacks through a field and the ground was really compacted because we haven't had a lot of rain in the last month or so. So that took a toll on my body. I felt really good for the first 2.5 hours. I was doing run a K, walk 2 minutes, and that was working. But then suddenly my hip flexor started talking to me, and then my glute started talking to me, and I was
and the wine started talking to you.
Yeah, I hadn't had any wine yet. And the running was less frequent, the walking was more frequent, and then it all fell to hell. So I managed 46K, still an ultra, and we stuck it out till about 11 o'clock at night so that our friend Will could accomplish 52K for 52 years. He was turning 52 on the Sunday.
Mm.
And we watched the Joggler unbelievably complete.
World record, I think.
Yeah, 117K while juggling 3 balls in the air, which was amazing.
And then through the night as well.
Yeah, which we didn't see him finish, but we're going to talk to him next week, so I'm excited about that.
All right.
Yeah, well.
So who's on the podcast today?
Today we have Susan Lowe-Wylde. We first met Susan when we were the MCs at this year's Meet the Minotaur Sky Race, but we actually realized that we knew each other way before that when we had a running store, as her company, Spry, which is a running store that she owns with her husband, Ian, out in Blairmore, part of Crow's Nest Pass. We used to order things from them. And
with our store.
For our store, and never made the connection. Susan's been running ultras for a few years now, but at the age of 63, she had an incredible year this year, starting off with the Yakima Skyline Rim 50K in April, Meet the Minotaur 35K in June, which she was also the co-race director of for many years, Fat Dog 120 in August, and just a couple weeks ago, your race, Lost Soul. She did the 50K. This was her 4th time. And to top it all off, she then paced her friend Jackie for 2 nights at this year's Divide 200. Again, 63 years young. So this is her year in review.
Here's Susan coming up.
Welcome to the podcast, Susan, and congratulations on the amazing year that you've had. We just listed off your races in our intro, but of course we'll get to all of them individually. But I did have to double check Norm's research because he listed your age as 63, and I said that's not possible. Susan's not 63.
I am 63. Yes, I'm 63.
Which makes it even more epic to me.
I know people say, oh, it's just a number, and it really is just a number. But that being said, since I turned 60, I do feel a little bit different than I did when I was in my 40s and 50s. Like, I'm just aware, mostly it's that I'm aware that time's running out for running a lot of ultras. Like, but even then, who knows? Maybe people can run ultras when they're 80. I don't know, but it's just, it may not be possible forever. So this year, I really had 2 big key races and then the other ones that kind of just filled in, but they all went really well. So I'm finally figuring it out. Yeah. After 10 years, I'm finally figuring it out.
Well, it was so great to meet you back in June, of course, when we came out to MC at Meet the Minotaur, which you and Ian, your husband, co-founded with Andrew and Aaron. But it was funny. Normally I pick up on these things, but I think it occurred to me a couple days in that, of course, we should have realized that we were connected before this through our running store and your distribution of Icebug and Ultra Aspire and Swiftwick, which I didn't make the connection until too late, but what a small world.
I know, it is a small world. Well, it's the running world. So the running world is quite small. And I know you live on the other side of Canada, but it is far away, but we're all connected in some way. And it was really, this is fun for me today because I feel like catching up with some old friends.
Exactly.
Because it was really, really nice to meet you. And I know Ian and I are not race directors anymore, but we still feel we still care a lot about the Minotaur Sky Race. And I was so thrilled when Aaron and Andrew told me that you were coming out to do the race announcing. It was really special. So I was very excited to meet you. And we're so happy that you came.
Oh, we are too. And what a community you guys have built out there. We definitely felt it from the word go. It was really special. And for such a small community, of course, being surrounded by those epic mountains that you have, it's only natural that it's developed that way, but we definitely felt it.
Well, it really is growing, just more and more people who love the outdoors and love to be in a community where it's easy to get out with fewer people, beautiful mountains, beautiful forests, really diverse terrain. So you can have rocky terrain or you can have open slopes and open forests that you can run through. So, and more trails. Most of the newer trails are thanks to our local mountain bike club that's really has developed some beautiful trails. So we're lucky to be able to run on those.
I don't know if you're aware, but I did tell Andrew this, that we were also accepted to do the media for Western States. And we had to make a decision, do Western States or go to you, Meet the Minotaur. And we were like this, juggling. We said, let's go Minotaur.
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite something. I did not know. So thank you very much. Wow, that's amazing.
It was our first time at a skyrunning event. So
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
All right, let's chat 2024. When did you dream of this big year before you start signing up with this race? Or how did this happen?
Well, I decided last fall that I wanted to run another 100-mile race. I hadn't run a 100-mile race since 2018, I think. And that was Sinister. The only 100-mile races I've done are here in my community. Like, I just ran to the start. It's half a block from my house and I know all the trails. So I think even though, of course, it's a huge challenge to run 100 miles, there are some advantages because I live here. But I decided that I wanted to do it again. And then, to be quite frank, I need crew. Ian has always been there to help me, but it's really difficult for him to crew me while we're running the store because it can be extremely busy over that Sinister 7 weekend. So he said, can you choose another one? So I don't know why I chose Fat Dog. I guess Ian and I, back in probably 2013, 14, when we really had run long ultras, we'd heard about Fat Dog and we thought, oh, that sounds like something we would enjoy. So I just always known about the race. So I'm not sure why I decided on Fat Dog, but I did. So I decided that I'm going to sign up for Fat Dog, which is longer than 100 miles. It's called Fat Dog 120, but it's actually 126 miles, which is a lot more than 120 miles. So that makes a difference. But so I just signed up and then I do like to have I like to have goals that are really challenging and scary, because when you have a big, scary goal, you have to train, you have to plan, you have to figure it out. So if you choose something that you know you can do, I don't know, it's not as challenging, and it's maybe doesn't have the same appeal of the possibility of failing,
Right.
of the possibility of not achieving it, which is where we really learn the most, when we try something and maybe it doesn't work, or it does work, but whatever, go out, go try it. So I chose Fat Dog, and I was really happy that I finished.
We'll get the Fat Dog in a minute.
It was quite something, but yes.
But we want to know, let's go back to the beginning of how or when did you even start running?
You don't know your origin story.
Yeah, I've been running for over 50 years now.
Ah.
So I started competing in orienteering. I grew up in Montreal, and my father, he worked with a man who did orienteering. So our family started going orienteering most weekends, probably when I was about 11 years old, maybe. And so I would go in the shorter races, and I don't know how it happened, but I guess I have some kind of natural ability to read maps and navigate, because I became the Canadian women's champion. So for 21 years and older, when I was 14.
Wow.
Which is kind of crazy. Yeah. I'm not sure when I look back if that was a healthy thing to do for a young person, but I guess I liked it. I'm not sure why, but I competed in orienteering and ended up going to 5 world championships. And I was the Canadian and even the North American orienteering champion for, I don't know, until I was 22.
Wow.
Most years, maybe not every single year, but most of it. So I did a lot of competing. And then I was so lucky, because through that sport, every summer I got to go to Sweden or Switzerland and live with families and train and go in orienteering races, and even some mountain marathons that were like 3-day events in Sweden and Switzerland. And so I did a lot when I was in my teens.
Did you ever do adventure racing?
Well, no, I don't think adventure racing was a thing. Like, this is back in the 70s and early 80s. So I don't remember. There's something called Rogaine, which I've never done. It's sort of longer orienteering, but back then it was just orienteering. Yeah. And then the mountain marathons were, I guess they were kind of like adventure racing, but they were just orienteering through, over stage races basically, but they didn't call it that.
Right.
With navigation. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's how I started. And then I've always run to some degree, but I got married when I was in my early 20s, and I'd really had a kind of enough of competing and just wanted to have a family and have a more normal life. So I kept running, but it was more just for fun. I didn't compete until my kids were growing. Maybe some fun races or something, from local races, but mostly just running for health and wellness. Yeah.
Nice. Wow. According to Ultra Sign Up, your first ultra is Sinister 700 miler. Is that your first ultra?
Well, yeah, actually, I suppose kind of. So back in probably 2014, Aaron and Andrew were going to the Mount Robson Marathon, which wasn't quite 50K. So I guess, but it's longer than a marathon. So I suppose that was an ultra. I hadn't done anything long for a long time. And then Aaron was doing it. So she said, do you want to come? And then we trained a little bit together. And of course, we'd been in Sinister 7 on teams. So I'd run some of the legs, like a 30-kilometer leg or something like that. So I'd done the Mount Robson Marathon. And then, being at Sinister all those years and being on teams and being at the transitions, and I would watch people who were soloists come in. And then I was really surprised how sometimes they would be smiling and be happy. And I was kind of mesmerized. And also I thought that I was intrigued would be the word. Like, how are they doing that? And so in 2014, I guess I looked at the times for some of the soloists, and it's kind of a tight cutoff at Sinister. It's 30 hours and there's over 6,000 meters of climbing, I think. So that's a lot. And so when I looked at the times that some of the last people who just made the cutoff for each of the legs, and then I knew I could run those legs in those times one at a time. So I thought, okay, well, it's possible if I could link it all together. So then I just thought, well, I don't know, I'll just sign up. Like, what do I have to lose? Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? I won't finish. And then I did. Yeah, I finished that year. It was pretty hard. And I mean, I really didn't know very much about fueling. So 2015, there wasn't as much information. and I didn't have as much experience. So yeah, I did a lot of things wrong, and I ran probably the last 3 legs with no fuel.
Oh my God.
So, yeah. I know. I remember we starting leg 6, and Ian's like, you have to eat something. So I had this little tiny piece of homemade pizza. And then he's like, you have to eat this. I mean, I'm going out for 7 hours on leg 6 in the night. And so I remember I took a couple bites, and then I ran off, and it was dark, so he couldn't see me. And then I just threw it in the woods. I couldn't eat. Yeah. Yeah. So I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's possible to just go super slow and not eat.
So tell us about your first race this year, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Is it Yakima Skyline Rim 50K? Why did you choose that one, Susan?
Yeah, in Washington.
Yeah, we've never raced there before.
No, I hadn't either. I haven't done too many races in the United States, but it's only about an 8-hour drive from our house. And I know, I went in Deception Pass maybe 3 years ago, which is run by the same. Now I can't think.
Rain Shadow Running?
Rain Shadow, I think so. So I think I get their emails because I had run the Deception Pass 50K a few years ago. And I thought, that is a nice early race and not too far. So we could drive down, and so we did. And it was pretty hard because there's almost 3,000 meters of climbing. I remember the day before we left, I said to my friend, Jackie, like, how am I going to do that early season? Because you haven't really had that much opportunity around here. There's still snow, but I did. It's really was beautiful. They said that it might be the last year that they could run that race in that location. Maybe. So I thought, okay, well, we might as well do it. Yeah, it's cool. No trees. So it's very similar to Lethbridge.
Oh, wow.
Except that the climbs are bigger. So instead of, Norm knows, but Lethbridge up, down, up, down, up, down. And there the climbs were much longer, but it was similar in that there were really no trees on the course.
Wow.
So it was fairly hot.
How did you manage winter training? Were you doing a lot of cross training?
Well, we do a lot of cross-country skiing, backcountry skiing. So we do a lot of that. And then this year was the first time that Ian and I were able to go away. We went down to Flagstaff and Sedona, and we were there for 2 weeks. So that helped to kind of kickstart the running season. Yeah, we really enjoyed it. And you can run. We run here all winter long. So
yes. Ice bugs, plug them, please. More people need to know about ice bugs.
Yeah, they are awesome. But now there's so many other brands too. Solomon's got, we sell at Spry, we sell Solomon, and I think VJ, and I don't know what else. But yeah, there's more and more companies now with such shoes, but they're really a game changer.
Big time.
And they last so long. You don't use them year round.
Exactly.
So it's a great thing to have.
That was my selling tool at the stores. You're not wearing them as often, so they're going to last longer.
Yeah. My first pair I probably had for 6 years, and then got another.
Yeah. Now, speaking of owning a business and race directing, you never were able to meet the Minotaur. So how excited were you this year to be able to run the race that you helped co-found? I can't even imagine.
I was really excited. I'm really glad I did it because obviously I know that trail extra well. So we, lots of trail work to make that possible. But to put it all together is a huge challenge. And it really was. It was a huge honor. It was really special to be out there and listen to the other racers talking about the race or their experience, or reminding everybody, make sure you look at the view. It's beautiful. Because in the 2 years that we've been part of the Sky Running World Series, I've been at the finish line, greeting people when they cross the line. So that's one experience, which is super special, but it was really great to be out there firsthand. Yeah, I'm so happy I did it, but it was very, very hard, like very, very hard. Yeah, it's very challenging terrain. So just kind of looking at the ground the whole time was what I did. I didn't need to look at the views because I get to see them other times. So I just 100% focus so that you don't trip and fall. Yeah.
You didn't get lost at all, did you?
No, that's another advantage, I think. But the Minotaur Sky Race is flagged so well. A lot of people say it's one of the best marked courses that they've ever been on.
Absolutely. Every time we talk about the race, since we experienced even just a small portion of the course ourselves, and of course being there all race weekend, I tell people this is a completely different athlete to a typical ultra or typical trail race because the speed at which those top finishers took on that terrain, I still can't really wrap my head around it. And when you watch that video that was created for the race after the fact, it just gives you a little taste of what it's like because, of course, it's so much steeper, so much more technical in person.
It is. Well, first of all, I agree with you. Those top athletes are, which of course we had them coming from all over the world. It's mind-boggling how they do that. It's just crazy how they can go so fast up those big long ups and then on technical terrain. I know our daughter was at one of the checkpoints on the last climb and the last ridge, Morin Ridge, a couple of years ago when the fellow I think he still has the course record from France, Damien, but she said it was unbelievable to watch him prancing across the rocks. Like it's just, it's hard to imagine how they to do that, but yeah, quite inspiring.
Now that you've ran a sky running event, which is the only one in Canada, Meet the Minotaur, have you ever thought about doing other sky running events, perhaps in Europe? Is Europe calling your name to do a sky running event there?
Hey everyone! We've been testing out a product that's new to us on our long runs lately called Caffeine Bullet. And we wanted to share this brand with you guys because it could be a real game changer. I'm training for my very first 24-hour race and I've never run through the night before, so I'm a bit nervous about it. Product is called Caffeine Bullet. It's out of the UK and it was created by David Hillard, host of the award-winning Bad Boy Running podcast.
Isn't he the announcer for Golden Trail series?
He sure is.
Oh.
All right, so they have a few different levels of caffeine chews. I'm just going to highlight a few for you today. They have the Chocolate Orange, which is 85 milligrams of caffeine, which is about the same as a cup of coffee. They have the Mint Tense Energy Chew, 100 milligrams per chew, which is the same as, let's call it an espresso. Then they also have one that I'm really excited to try. It's the Ginger Roars Vegan Chew. It's about 33 grams, same as about a third of a cup of coffee. But what's interesting is the ginger element, because sometimes you have issues with your stomach. And speaking of that, they're almost an instant energy boost because the caffeine is chewed in your mouth and it's absorbed quicker because it actually bypasses your stomach and it kicks in 3 times faster than gels.
Wow.
I know, right?
Sign me up.
Right? So it gives you that boost of energy exactly when you need it. They're also individually wrapped, which is great because you can store them in your vest or in your pocket and access them quickly when you need it. You can order them online. They ship from North American warehouses. And if you use our link, our Gotta Run podcast listeners will get 20% off.
Whoa.
Pretty good, right?
I like it.
We've posted the links in the show notes for your convenience. And hey, if you've tried them, let us know. We'd love to hear from you.
All right, check it out.
I'm not so sure. I don't know. I know Ian and I've talked about it because it would be wonderful to go to Europe and run some sky races. It would be quite an experience, but I think I would let him do it and maybe I would support him. How's that? It's not, our course is fine. I knew that I could do it because I'd been on all parts of it. But I'm not a super big fan of like scrambling and kind of scary exposure. That's really not me.
Mm-hmm.
I can do it. I don't really love it. So I think I'd prefer to do a beautiful trail race.
Yeah, for sure. So let's go on to Fat Dog 120. After MTM, how did you alter your training? Because that's a big step up from what you had done previously, 50K, 35K, and now you're taking on a multi-day.
Yeah. Yes, and it was a multi-day for me. The race cutoff is 48 hours, and I'm super proud that I finished and completed. But it was 47 hours and 8 minutes.
Woo.
Yeah, that's a long time to be running and no sleep. So that was difficult.
Yeah, I
Yep.
bet.
The first 50 miles, I think it's up and down, then up again. So first, tell us how the first 50 miles went.
The first, it's 57 kilometers to where people can have a pacer.
Okay.
And because I wonder if you're looking at the regular course, you might, because this year it started at the highway where normally you do Cathedral Park and then it crosses the highway. And then you do have a huge climb up to, I think it's called the Heather Aid Station, and along a beautiful ridge, really beautiful. So that was it was started off as a really big climb. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you're up. And that part's really beautiful. And then down, and then, well, it was a different course now. So then we went down to 57 kilometers. But I do have a bit of a funny story because I'm over 60. I got to have a pacer for the whole race. Ooh. So I thought, oh, that's a great opportunity to have our son, Jamie, he likes to run. So he decided that he would help me out, and he paced me for the first 57 kilometers. And he was a great pacer for 30 kilometers. He was really good for 30 kilometers, but it was quite hot that day, and the heat didn't get to me probably because I am able to get out in the day, and I think I was pretty heat climatized. But he works inside, and he has small children, so he's not heat acclimatized. Mm-hmm. So around 30K, yeah, he fell apart. Poor Jamie. And then it's that whole 27 kilometers is pretty much gradual down and in your back. So it's kind of the easier section, but he was not moving very fast and quite a lot of vomiting. So I was only somewhat compassionate because I was like, I gotta go. So then I'd yell back, are you moving? Because you're not allowed to leave your pacer. That's in the rules.
Like you can't drop your pacer.
You can't drop your pacer?
I think most races are like that. I'm pretty sure, but yeah, you're not allowed to drop your pacer. But I thought, maybe I could drop him at the next aid station and then he could just walk out. So he's not having to run, which would be nicer for him and better for me. But no, they wouldn't let me. And even the next aid station, which was close to the highway, no. So he had his little chicken broth and then he perked up a little bit and made it back. But yeah, he was not, we laugh now, but it's kind of wasn't funny at the time. He was really suffering for a long way, and he really dug deep to stay with me. And I wasn't even moving that fast, but it was, I guess, when you're not feeling good. Yeah. Anyways, that's my funny. That was my first, 60 kilometers was with Jamie, and then Ian joined me, and then I started feeling not so good, but we trudged along. It's very remote, that section, which isn't normally in the course. Mm. It's on trails that are not used very much, so really small and lots of bushes, and it was pretty challenging, and it just keeps going on forever. Yeah. And then eventually you get back to Heather aid station. That was late afternoon the next day, but it was tough this year because there was a thunder and lightning storm. So the whole time we were going across the big ridge on Heather for probably 2 hours. It was thunder and lightning really close to us. Mm. You just keep going. Yeah. And then there was hail, which luckily just missed us, but some of the racers would have been hailed on.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That's not fun. It's got cold, and then you go down a gravel road, and then there's a pretty major aid station where you have 10 kilometers. After this major aid station, there's 10 kilometers on pavement. It's a paved road with lots of switchbacks that goes back down and crosses Highway 3. And I tried to quit.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's kind of funny now that I think about it, because Ian was really bad. The skies opened. It was torrential rain. I felt so bad for the volunteers. There's quite a lot of runners huddled in the small tent, and then the volunteers are out in the rain. It was really cold. They have space heaters, so it warming up. But I just was like, I don't want to go 10 kilometers down pavement with I guess my knees must have been hurting. See, I said they didn't, but I think they might have been. I don't think my legs can handle it. So then Ian wasn't with me. So I went up to the man he looked like he was probably the aid station captain. And this is what I asked him. I said, do you have shuttles to take people out of here if they don't want to continue? And he just looked at me like, what a dumb question. I figured there was probably a lot of people that wanted out. But he said, no, but I have arranged rides for a couple of racers. And I said, well, I have a pacer as well. And then Ian came up and he's like, what are you doing? He's like, what? I said, I'm trying to quit. But the aid station person asked me, are you injured? And I was like, well, not really. I just don't want to go anymore and my legs hurt. So I said, okay, no worries. I'll just walk down. So I think in my head, I was like, okay, well, I'll get to the bottom and then I'll quit. But we just carried on. So
it is part of their job to keep you out there, right? And that just to reframe it. It's a good way to reframe it. Are you injured? No. Well, then you need to keep going.
It was a really good question. Yeah.
Yeah.
as if they have shuttle buses taking people out. Really, I don't know. That just shows you what the lack of sleep starts to do, I guess, with your mind.
At any point, were you worrying about cutoffs?
Yeah, only at the end. So the last loop, 20, I think it's 25 kilometers, maybe 30, and it's on the normal course. I think it's called Skyline, maybe.
Okay.
And so it was night when we started that, and going up. And then, that's when we did start to kind of, not bad hallucinations, but you start to, in the forest, start to see things like trees start looking, like I kept seeing old cars and just things that probably weren't supposed to be there. But we kept moving, and we were with another guy named Eric. That's a whole other story. A really nice guy from Virginia. We got up to the top finally, and the sun came up, and it was quite really, really beautiful up there. We were going along, and then I was quite slow going down. So Eric said, "Oh, I'm going to leave you guys and, head off. Thanks because we'd helped him a lot on the rocky bit, because he'd never been in rocks. So he asked if he could stay with us. That was way back at Mount Frosty. But anyway, so Eric said he was going to go, because now it's just downhill back to the finish. And then after a couple of minutes, we hear Eric yelling, like yelling off in the distance. And what's he doing? Is it a bear call, or he sees a bear? And anyways, we realized he was trying to warn us that we're not going down. We still have more up.
Oh no!
Well, I learned later they call them the 8 bitches. So there's 8, like up, down, and so Ian said to me, I don't know, the cutoff was 10, I think. Yeah. He had to be back by 10, and it's morning already. So it was a bit okay. And I kept saying, no, we got 3 hours. We'll be fine. But then I thought to myself, well, I'm not very fast going down right now. Can't really run even downhill. So then he just said to me, it was the best thing he said. He said, you're just going to have to endure some pain. So I said, okay, yeah. And then I just went into another gear, and I motored up the next up, and there were a few more ups and downs. And then I just made myself run down, and I could run. They could help just get going, just do, I think my brain was probably protecting myself and telling myself that I couldn't run down, but I actually could. And it really didn't hurt that much. Pain's an interesting thing, because it's in your brain. It's in your brain. It's however you perceive that pain. And it wasn't like I was injured. It was just that I was tired and sore. So yes. So the answer is yes, Norm. And it's a good thing that I took off, because really we only had 50 minutes to spare.
Woof.
Wow.
Yeah. And there was no way I was going to miss that cutoff. There was absolutely no way, after going through all that running for 2 days, there's no way that I was going to miss that cutoff.
Wow. And in the last 5 kilometers, now the feeling that you're going to get this done. What was going through your mind at that point?
Well, at that point, it was when is this going to end? Because you come down, and then you come down, and there's a lake. I guess it might be Lightning Lake. It's quite beautiful where the start finishes. But you could see the finish on the other side of the lake. And then we were going along, and it's well, how do we get there? It's right there, but how do we get there? And then we actually, for a few minutes, thought maybe we've missed markers, or maybe so it was a little bit of a panic to how are we going to get around. Anyways, you just had to there's a lot of teasing at that race. You can hear the finish in the night, and then you can see it again, and you have to go way down around the lake and then come back. So that was mostly on our mind. Are we going to even get to the finish? Or do we have to swim across this? It's interesting, because before we approached the finish, I started kind of getting a little bit emotional. And I thought, I'm just going to cross the line and break down and cry. But then I never do when it's me. I break down more when I see other people reach big goals. Yeah. But yeah. And one thing that was special, I mentioned that our son, Jamie, was there, and his family. So his wife, Dina, and our 2 grandkids, who are 3 and 5 years old, were there camping that weekend. So the kids were at the finish line. So that probably helped keep me kind of, I don't know, just they were so happy to see us and cheering us on. They were a big part of it. So that's very special.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Well, big congrats to you. You did finish 47 and change. Do you ever see yourself taking on a big event like this again?
No. 100 miles. I'll do 100 miles. Now I know I can do 100 miles, which I'm really happy about. I thought if I can do that, then I can do 100 miles.
Yes.
Probably. The Divide 200 which of course you would know. I think it's now the only 200-mile race in Canada, and that's here in our community.
Mm-hmm.
And I last year paced a woman who came third. I paced her for about 50 miles, which was really, really special.
Right.
And then this year, I have a best running friend, Jackie Hill, and she had entered the divide. So she was doing the 200, and I was going to pace her for some sections this year. So when I was out at Fat Dog, I said to myself, well, I was thinking of Jackie a lot because I was like, she's going to, it's hard. And to go another 75 miles, like, wow. So I was thinking of her a lot and how she was going to have to really dig deep to complete. And also I told myself, no, you're never doing a 200-mile race. Yeah. I was like, it's painful. My feet were really sore, and like, it's just felt too painful. So yeah, that's the answer to those long distance things. I think it's not for me, but I'm happy to help pace other people. You're still part of it, and people need support in a 200-mile race. So I just paced Jackie. I was at, 10 days ago maybe, and she finished. She did.
And obviously your recovery went well because Fat Dog wasn't that long ago. So good for you.
Yeah. Oh, well, I had to go to do Lost Soul.
Exactly. Which we'll get to next.
But only 50K. Yeah. But so that was maybe a bit close to Fat Dog, but it ended up being fine. Yeah. So I've been recovering pretty well this year. So I make a point of recovering. I make a point of not running like after Fat Dog. I don't think I ran for two weeks.
Well, now that Fat Dog does give you tickets to Western and Hard Rock and Badwater.
I know. That's so cool.
So you're not.
And what's the third one?
And
Badwater.
Badwater.
Oh, no, I won't do that. No way. No, that's not for me.
So you're going to put your name into Western then, at least.
I will for sure. And Hard Rock too. Oh. So I know the chances are slim to that. But I mean, wouldn't that be cool? That'd be really
yes. Cool. If you get into Western, we're coming.
Yeah, okay. You can help me crew. I know the chances are slim tonight, but I should be more positive because it can happen. I have a friend here, and she said she ran Javelina last year or the year before, and the guy that she met on the trail, he got into Western States with one ticket.
Yeah, it can happen.
That was a ticket.
I hate those guys.
Yeah, so, I heard that. I think I heard you tried. You had a lot of tickets, didn't you?
Yes,
a lot.
Yeah. Well, think of all the experience you were gaining.
Yes, that's true. People do tell me that.
Yeah.
So the last race of the season was, of course, just happened, Lost Soul. A little 50K heat run.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So Lost Soul is, that's my fourth time entering Lost Soul because it's such a great race and it's close to home and just the people there, just such a great running community. And I think that was my first 50K was at Lost Soul. So nice. Yeah, quite a long time ago. Yeah. So I love to go that race sometimes. I've only ever done the 50K. I can't imagine going around twice. So good for you for doing that. Anyway, but I wouldn't have signed up for that this year because it was quite close to Fat Dog. Was it 3 weeks maybe after or something like that?
Yep.
Or maybe it was 4 weeks before, I think. But I had COVID. I'd signed up the year before and I had COVID. And so I deferred my entry till this year. So I was like, okay, I'll go do it. And it was really hot, wasn't it, Norm? Yeah.
It was Western States hot.
Yeah. In 2017 or 18, it was really hot. That was one of the hottest years until this year, and also smoky. And I'd been there and done it that year when I was not very experienced. And I remember how hard it was, but I'm much better now at handling the heat. And the only reason I could keep going and I ended up doing quite well for me was that I had so much ice. So we brought a huge cooler of our own ice and I put ice in my pack and ice in my hat, my sleeves. And that really, it was great. Like the ice just stays. I don't know. Did you have a lot of ice?
Oh gosh.
Cover yourself in ice. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you could do it without. It was so hot. People said it was 37 or 38 in some of those spots. And Ian saw that in the car when he was driving, not just sitting in the sun, but like it was 38 somewhere where he'd been. Oh boy, it was crazy.
Is it always hot at that time at Lost Soul?
It's notoriously hot. Yeah. Maybe not that hot, but like they have a little chart on this Lost Soul website with the temperature for the last few years. So I looked at that. That's how I know that Smoky year was one of the hottest ones. But I did it the year. So what are we now? So maybe 2022, I'd written down it was 26 degrees in the morning, and maybe, so maybe in some of the coulees it was high 20s. But that's not like what we experienced at all. So that was, it was hot, but not that hot. But there's something about those coulees, they just hold the heat.
Yep.
Yeah. And then there's very little shade, as you know. So.
I like the look of the trail, though.
Yeah, it's good. You should it's well, now that you know the ice secret, you just have to have a lot of,
well, you know what?
Use a lot of ice. And then not that bad.
We train in humidity in Ontario from June to September. So we do have that advantage, even though it's not, I know you guys call it humidity there, but it's not the same as our humidity.
I grew up in Montreal. We lived in Ottawa. How old was I? I was 30 when we moved out west. So I did a lot of orienteering and like lots of humidity, and it's not. It's never humid here.
No.
And there aren't flies here either. So I don't know why people complain about the mosquitoes. I'm like, I don't know. I haven't gone into our woods in Ontario and Quebec. Yeah. So it's definitely a dry heat, and the humidity is I think it's tougher. I think it's harder to be in a humid environment.
Yes,
for sure.
It's too bad I missed you at the finish line. I would love to give you a high five. Yeah.
I can't believe I just forgot that. I did know you had told me in June that you were coming, but I just forgot.
We forgot too. So our fault.
Either you probably talked about it in your podcast and I just forgot. Yeah, I'm sad about that. So I think we did go on, because you ran Friday.
Yeah.
And I ran on Saturday, but we went Friday afternoon and to the finish area and saw people coming through. But I think you would have come through that aid station ahead of, I think when we were there, it was maybe, I don't know, we probably just missed you. Yeah. It's too bad. Wow. But I think it's amazing that you did it. And I really like to hear how you got your rock on the plane.
I went through security and they looked at me and they said, "Is that a rock?" I go, "Yeah, exactly what it is." So I had to explain the rock to them. But I took it as carry-on, for sure.
And they let you take it, no problem.
Oh, yeah.
I guess when it's got a Lost Soul running on it, they know. Yeah, that's good.
For sure.
Good. Well, good you had room for it, too.
So what's next, Susan? Any plans for next year?
Whether you're running a marathon, hitting the trails, or just getting started, Kinesis sunscreens deliver maximum performance with minimum effort. Formulated for sport, Kinesis eliminates what you hate most about sunscreen. It doesn't sting the eyes, is light and silky on the skin, stays on for 80 minutes even when you're sweaty, and is super easy to apply. Kinesis is small but mighty and recognized by the best. Their SPF 50 fragrance-free is the world's first ever Informed Sport certified sunscreen and a Runner's World USA Editor's Choice year after year. Owned by Aussie couple Wade and Lisa, Kinesis has been proudly made in Canada for over 25 years. You can find Kinesis at select retail partners across Canada or online through their website, kinesisactive.ca. Search Kinesis Active. That's KINESYS Active. And you can save 5% when ordering through the Kinesis website using our Gotta Run Racing affiliate link, which you can find in the show notes. Love staying active? Kinesis has you covered.
I don't know. I can't decide. I don't need to decide yet, I guess, but there's so many amazing ultras, and I would like to run 100 miles next year.
But don't make any decisions until Western States. They may call you.
Right. Exactly. That's right. I don't have to make any decisions until then. I guess I think it would be fun to run Hard Rock or Western States at some point, wouldn't it? So maybe I need to run Lost Soul and run around twice next year. What do you think? Yes. Try and get another ticket. Yeah. Are you going to come back next year? You could both come.
I would love for Jodi to do the 50K because I think it's her type of race, honestly. The first 20K is flat and then the trails are not that bad.
And there's no rocks. Yeah. That's my magic word.
Yeah. And it's one thing that's nice about Lost Soul is there's aid stations every, really less than less than 10, like every sort of 8-9 kilometers. And then there's just the one leg that's 16, but they have two. I was listening to your podcast about your experience, but I guess you didn't know because there was, it's written on the map or it's written somewhere. So there's water at two places. So I never carried more than a liter. So just 2 bottles. And I knew that I could fill up on that long.
They have a map?
Yeah. You didn't look at the map.
Yeah, he likes to go in blind. He's just like, whatever, I'm there.
I researched a lot, but I realized at Fat Dog I didn't do enough because I didn't know that. Like you can, but I do look at the map. Or maybe you don't like map. But I didn't know that Frosty was like that. I just saw on the map it looked like this tiny little loop. Kind of. It's like, oh, okay, it's not that tiny, but
maybe it's better you didn't know.
Maybe it's better you didn't know. But I think it is good to know at Lost Soul that there's 2 water stops, like just water. But it is kind of good to know that because it's a pretty long, hot 16 kilometer. So now you know.
I was better prepared in the second loop because of those water aid stations.
Yeah, right. That's right. You got a second chance to go around. I forgot about that. Yeah. Good. Well, you should come next year.
Did you have any advice, Susan, for 50 plus and 60 plus runners when it comes to mountain races? What's the secret sauce? And especially for women specifically.
Yeah. Well, I have found that I have to do a lot of things to support my running that I didn't used to do. I didn't used to, always done a little bit of strength training, and I taught yoga and fitness classes for a big chunk of my life. So I've always done some things, but maybe not running specific. So now I do a lot of rolling, and like every day I do some rolling, and I do a lot of mobility, yoga, some sort of strength training. That's sort of running specific strength training, and then last year I added in once a week some heavier lifting,
right?
Which I think helps me. Yeah. So I'm going to carry on. I've just started, and I find it really hard during sort of, from June till now to do too much strength training. I just get to, my legs are tired and need to recover. So even though I think it is best to do a little bit year round.
Yes.
But I do find that. So I just started back last week doing a little bit of strength stuff again. So, but I always do the mobility. I always do the stretching. I always, I don't know what to call it because it's rolling, mobility, stretching. I just kind of do my thing, but an hour or 2 a day, probably, if I can.
Wow.
5 days a week, probably. It's quite a lot.
Yeah, that is.
But I'm lucky that I have a little more time now, which often people some people have more time when they're in their 60s. So I have the time, which I wouldn't have been able to finish Fat Dog if I hadn't done so many exercises to support. Yeah. And not training, but not crazy amount of training. A lot of it's mental, isn't it? Like, I don't really think you have to train that much more to run 100 miles in a 50-kilometer race. I mean, maybe a little bit more consistency, a few more back-to-back days. Sure. But if you want to do a 50 really well, you have to train, I think, almost as much. And then make sure you've got some recovery days in there if you're getting started, especially. So maybe not running. I know when I signed up for Sinister back in 2015, I hadn't been running as much. And I started with running in November. The race is in July. And in November, I started writing down what I've been writing down on a calendar ever since then, what I do, so I can kind of plan the training. But I started with 3 days a week, 1 hour. So just running for 1 hour, 3 times a week. So spread out with a recovery day in between. That's how I started. And then I just kind of started building up. But, yeah.
They definitely say that less is more once you reach a certain point in age, because as you said, you should be adding in those other things. And I think that really does make a difference because the conditioning on your body needs to be well-rounded as opposed to just getting
a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And then, what I'm going to focus on, and I tried last year, but I struggled, is some plyometrics. Not a lot, but just a little bit, because I really don't have very much power. I've really lost, compared to when I was younger, I've lost power and the ability to jump.
Right.
So I've been adding that in. And I probably should say on here, because I think women should talk about it, I have had some pelvic floor prolapse, which a lot of people don't talk about. And I think it's good to talk about it. So that probably when I went through menopause 10 years ago. So I started feeling heaviness when I was running and snowshoeing. And so I've done a lot of work on figuring that out.
Yeah.
So that's a whole other topic. But yeah, I use a pessary. So it's kind of like an orthotic that I can put in and out that helps to support. And then obviously lots of strength training for the pelvic floor. And then I do something else called hypopressives, which is low. You can read about it. And at first you probably think that's really, really weird because that's what I thought. But now I don't think it's so weird. So they call it low pressure fitness, but it's just Google it. Hypopressives. I think it's really helped me too with the pelvic floor.
Wow.
So I had to work through those challenges as well as my knees. But yeah, it's going really well.
Obviously it's going well. All right.
Yeah.
This has been awesome.
I do the hard because I love it, and I'm lucky. And I always remember that there were many years in my life where I there's no way I could have taken the time to train this way and to do all the things I need to do to keep myself healthy. For many years with our store, I had to work every Saturday, so I couldn't enter races, except the odd time, depending if we had staff. So there's been a lot of periods in my life where I couldn't do this. So I really work to remember that I'm grateful and lucky. Like not everybody gets to do this, so it's pretty special. And I remember that. And even when it gets hard, it's like, well, you chose to do this and you love doing this, so aren't you lucky? I feel very fortunate. Can take the time and choose races to go in.
Yeah, great, very grateful, I'm sure.
And I think for younger, if we're talking about women, like it's good to remember that because it's really hard being a working mom, and I've been there, and it's hard. So just keep yourself healthy, do what you can do when you can do it, and don't have such high expectations. And probably later in your life, you'll have some opportunities to do what you want to do if you can keep yourself healthy and moving.
Absolutely. Love it.
Good advice.
Love it. Thank you, Susan. This has been
well, thank you.
amazing.
Thanks for talking to me. It's really nice of you to consider me.
Before we let you go, we like to do some rapid fire, just some fun questions. Okay, just to lighten it up a little bit here.
You knew they were coming.
I guess I'm good, but I kind of forgot. Are they always? I don't know. We'll find it.
What's the last concert you went to?
Okay, yeah, I do remember you asking people that question. So I guess the last concert was a local. It wasn't really a concert, but Lanny Folkart band who from Croz's Pass, and everybody in her band is a runner, which is pretty cool.
Oh wow!
So she was playing at the past year. But I think what's cooler is my first concert.
Yes.
My first concert was David Bowie.
Whoa!
It's probably I think 1975, probably, Montreal. Maybe 1974, because I was really young and I had to really beg my mom to let me go with my friends. And that was a really scary, at the Montreal Forum, lots of cigarette lighters, lots of scary people.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm not a big, concerts aren't really my thing, but that was my first and maybe my only concert too, David Bowie.
That's pretty epic.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
If you could travel back in time, what period would you go to and why?
See, I didn't prepare any answers to your question. I don't know. What would I go back to? I would probably go back to the 50s just because I really love old things, and I love all the colors, and I love the style, and I love the kitchens and the kitchen utensils and everything from the 50s.
Would you go see Elvis Presley in concert then?
Oh, totally, I would. Yes, I would. I would have loved that.
What's your favorite junk food?
Chips. Plain, only plain.
Only plain. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, no flavors. Yeah.
Where in the world would you like to go on vacation, but not running related?
Italy. But I would still run. We went there. We were very lucky. Ian had to go for a sales meeting in maybe April, I think. So I got to go for a week. And so we did run quite a bit. But I would go there and not run.
Yes, for sure. Would you rather be a professional writer, painter, or a musician?
Painter. My sister's a good painter. I would love to paint.
Yeah.
She's got talent. So maybe I have talent, but I haven't explored it.
I keep telling Norm we're going to take it up in our retirement when we're not running.
Yeah, so many things. Yeah, I know. It's probably just fill out your days with running, which is what runners do. All the other things, rolling, stretching, but you can find time.
Exactly. Okay, Norm.
Pick a superpower that you would like to have.
Oh, that one I actually thought about. So I think it would be pretty amazing if you could speak every language in the whole world, so you could communicate with all people.
Yeah.
And animals.
And animals, true. Yes. Yeah. Think of that. Yeah.
All right, Susan, thank you so much. It was great to see you again. Say hello to Ian and Aaron and Andrew.
I will. I hope that you'll come back for Minotaur and maybe again for Lost Soul, or maybe for Sinister or the races.
Yeah, you have a great community out there. Great community.
Absolutely.
You can come for Minotaur and look for Sinister, because sometimes it's only 2 weeks. Depends on the year, but then you could just come for a big run and you could do both. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for thinking of me, and nice of you.
No worries.
Through my stories.
All right, we'll let you go. Thanks for the time. Great to see you.
Okay. Yeah. Care of yourselves. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.
All right. So that was Susan Lowe-Wylde from Blairmore, Alberta.
One incredible year, one incredible season.
That is a seriously jam-packed race calendar. I can't believe she did the divide pacing not that long after Fat Dog.
No, but she did 2 50Ks, a sky running, which is practically a 50K. It was 35K, but you can... It is as hard as a 50K.
Yeah.
If you go to
harder
YouTube and check out Sky Running Meet the Minotaur video recap of this year.
You got to watch it, guys. It is unbelievable.
Of what they can do and so fast. And then a 120 mile Fat Dog. Incredible.
But like she said, she attributes it to at least an hour a day of rolling, stretching, yoga, strength training.
It's everything we all have to do when we get older in life.
You should be doing it when you're younger too.
You should
obviously there's benefits to it. But
college days, you can get completely sloshed and then run 50K the next day as if it's nothing. Those days are over when you hit 50. Just saying.
40, not 50.
Oh, God.
40.
Nevertheless, I didn't know she was a world champion in her youth, 20.
Orienteering.
You know, I did an orienteering race once. I was a venture racer, but I did orienteering one time. And I can tell you, these guys go so fast with map and compass in a thick wooded area as if it's a straightaway trail.
Wow.
It's amazing how they can the trees tell them which direction to go. I don't know how they do it, but that's incredible.
She would have been a great teammate for you back in your adventure racing days. Because the map reader is the most important person on the team.
That's right. And
make or break.
Yep, I would say, here's the map, compass, go to town. I'll just follow you. Nevertheless, that's an incredible year and still going strong. I'm curious to know what she's going to happen next year.
And check out Spry Active. I think it's .ca. They have an amazing variety of ultra running, skiing brands that they sell. And if you haven't heard of Ice Bugs, check them out. Because with the winters that we have in Ontario, you need a pair of these shoes because you'll have no excuse to run outside. They are amazing. And also they sell boots. Amazing. So check them out.
And chicken legs.
Chicken legs, the shorts. Available on the Spry website as well.
Okay.
All right.
And thank you so much to all our patron supporters. And the best way to promote our podcast, if you like what you hear, is tell a friend.
Tell a friend.
Say, hey, who do you listen to? I listen to this. Well, check out these guys. GottaRunPodcast. And see what you think. Leave a rating review.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Bye.